Hello and welcome to part 2 of how to take better travel photos. In this video, the main topics I'm going to cover are utilizing good light and even bad weather, looking for patterns, adding people to your pictures, and how to take better images of beach scenes and sunsets. Now, using light to your advantage, often a very ordinary scene can be spectacular with the right light. This picture that I took early in the morning was only because of the light. Late afternoon is also a good time for light. And afternoon light can be a little more golden. This first image was taken in the morning, while this next one at the same location was taken later in the afternoon. So plan your outings accordingly and avoid noon, especially in the summer, for the spots where you want great photos. And don't be afraid to shoot into the sun. Play around with your camera settings and see what effects you can get. Flowers are usually best photographed in the morning, especially if you want some dew, or the late afternoon like this one. With high sun, you could end up with a blasted line of white on the tops of your flowers. Tulips, however, can be shot at midday because they capture the light inside their bowl-shaped petals. Also try and find interesting patterns in the shadows if you can. And whenever you're shooting in low light and don't have a tripod, prop your camera wherever you can to increase your chances of getting a good quality image. Otherwise, your camera will boost the ISO to give you a faster shutter speed, and that causes a poorer image and appears grainy, as you can see in this photo. For this one, I propped my camera on a park bench and set a long enough exposure to avoid that graininess. Now you may want to add a flash, as I did, to better light the lion's face, but your flash will only work for a few feet, so don't waste your battery trying to light up objects that are quite far away. And you can play around with a forced flash during the day when you want to capture the inside of a structure or building without the rest being overexposed and washed out looking, like I did with this one. Now, the thing to be aware of when you're shooting at the beach or near the ocean is to have things of interest to break up the large amounts of sky, sand, and water that are around you. And not by sticking people in front of waves. The people look stiff and the waves are never as big as you remember them. So wait for nature to help you out. Add some action. Add a group of people without faces showing so you can use strangers. Use some foreground like a bench or driftwood, which is usually found near the top of the beach, so look around. I think I was almost in the parking lot for this one. To soften the flow of water over the rocks, use a tripod like I did here and set a longer exposure than normal, such as 1/3 of a second. Keep your eyes open for patterns and lines that in themselves can make an interesting photo. Use a path or boardwalk to take the viewer through the photo, or fences. And repetitive patterns or colors can be very simple but effective. Now, bad weather and off-season can be two great times to take some unique photos. Get some photos before the fog lifts. Or shoot on a dark day for rather dramatic effect. And a light rain can deepen colors, as it did in these shots that I took at the Butchart Gardens. And you don't have to worry about where the sun is. You can shoot from any angle. And guess what? Rain lasts longer than dew, so you can get some lovely shots without having to get out too early. And likewise, for sunrises in the autumn or winter in many countries, you can sleep in a bit. And when experiencing bad weather, think about taking shots from the inside. It may actually be more effective. And don't forget winter. So I'm going to talk now about placing people in your photos, both people you know and strangers. Don't spend half your holiday waiting for fellow tourists to get out of the way. Utilize them in a safe and appropriate manner by not showing detailed faces, and you can get some great shots. And don't be afraid to offer a small amount of money so you can get good photos of local fishermen, artists, etc. And if you're taking action shots, take lots of them and pick the best one later. A good shot will have people positioned well to tell the story of what is happening. But this one is just a couple of seconds too late and there's no story to tell. Now this one, not the best composition, but I waited and eventually I got a grouping that I really liked. And sometimes the people just make the picture, like these two gentlemen. Or this woman with an umbrella. Or these children. And if you're shooting someone that your viewers will recognize, they can be almost out of the picture and people will still find them easily. And they don't have to be facing the camera. I like to have something to do. And if your vacation involves a wedding or family reunion, shoot seated people from the corner of a couch rather than in front. It looks nicer and you can fit more people in while filling your frame. Now here, notice how the curve of my back is imitating the curve of the driftwood. So now I'm going to talk about how to take nice sunsets and sunrises. I always have a camera in my car, so on my way to work I can grab photos like this. And there's not a second chance it's not going to look that way the next day. And if you're just shooting kind of a red sun or sky, think about adding something interesting in the foreground. Try a misty morning. Experiment with some long formats. And it's okay to put the sun in the middle, but it certainly doesn't have to be. So instead of this, try this. Now, if you like the notion of car shots, here are a couple of tips. The best spot is from the front seat with as little zoom as possible. From the back seat or in a bus, you may get a little bit of motion in the foreground, but that's okay because it's a road shot and you are on the move. And to avoid glare like I got in this photo, place your camera right up against the glass or put a hat or jacket or hood over your lens. And photos from a plane look best if you can frame it a bit with a window or a wing. So thanks for listening. Enjoy your travels. Take lots of pictures and keep those batteries charged so you don't miss any shots.